Hello, leaders. Welcome to the Influential Project Manager podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Nitchen, and I work for a national construction management firm with over $300 million built in state-of-the-art projects. In each episode here, I share insights, strategies, and real-world experiences to help you become more influential and informed so you can provide what's most desirable, predictable outcomes. This show is dedicated to project managers and business professionals everywhere who desire to lead and make an impact. The world truly needs your leadership here. So thank you for joining me today, and let's do as great PMs do and make it happen. Okay. Dan.
Yes.
How's it going? Welcome.
It's cool. I'm having a good day, man, already.
Great. You woke up dancing?
I first time since back surgery. I woke up to a jam that I just couldn't help myself from dancing. It was just too good. I'm not
Beautiful.
a dancer. I used to be. My prison name was Dancing Dan.
Oh, really?
I was a youth counselor and an administrator in a youth prison, so I wasn't behind the bars. But
Yeah.
I would bring in music on a Friday evening, and anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into that. We're
Yep.
gonna dig more into that. But welcome to the Influential Project Manager. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the newsletter. Excited to have you here. I feel like we have an industry veteran here, lots of experience in all things project management, construction, lean, people, and all kinds of skills related to that. So thanks for being here. You want to get us into a little origin story, a brief history of your career and where you've been, where and what you're up to now.
Well, I'm up to being an old man, but a lively and spry old man with lots of ideas. I'm 50 years in design, development, and construction. 20 of those roughly as a project manager on construction projects, and the last 15 of those as a lean coach, a chubby lean coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoy the people in this business. So as a people person, this is I'm a pig in mud. I'm rolling around. I'm having a good time, and the things I've learned in 15 years, I wish I'd have known in the 20 years I was a PM, because I would have been better. I was a PM that was really good at managing waste. I could manage that always but what I know now is that PM can do what you do, which is not be harried, not be constantly documenting it, but just solving problems and making sure things are running right, and watching the budget and watching the schedule and watching the productivity and making sure the people are working together. And that's a cool thing about it. And that's what brought me to in the influential project manager. That's how you and I met, is the ideas that percolate from your brain once a week, or probably once a minute, are expressed in a way that is very consistent with my learning over those 50 years. And
Excellent.
I genuinely appreciate working with you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you're here. So what topics do you want to dive into most today?
I like one of the ones that we discussed, and that is breaking down silos.
Mm-hmm.
They can be cross-departmental collaboration within a project. I'm really talking about all the silos on a project. So if you let me take a minute, the context of what I'm thinking and what I'd love to talk with you about, because I want your ideas on it, is let's start with what we know. Construction projects bring together dozens of separate companies, dozens.
Yes.
And different entities. Each has its own contractual terms, its own budget, and very often it's the first time they've ever worked together, or at least most of them.
Yes.
You got the big three. You got owners, designers, and builders, right? Uh,
Yes.
and those are silos, and those are pretty tall silos. I mean,
Hmm.
silos. You know. But designers have specialized consultants, structural engineers and HVAC design and electrical, all those different groups. So they all have silos, and trust me, they're tall silos too.
Hmm.
And then the builders have dozens of independent trade contractors, and every one of them has staff and suppliers and maybe subcontractors. So if you line up all the silos, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, because every one of those silos has vertical levels: executives, managers, field supervisors, and personnel. And they have each their own policies and procedures and their own goals and challenges. And they have to run a business and make a profit, or they don't exist. So,
Yes.
or in the case of a public owner, they have to at least deliver good stuff and hopefully under budget, which is not the case in all cases with public projects.
Yeah.
So, how the heck do all these people get to work together and get along? And especially when there are disagreements and disputes, and there's vagueness in the owner's intent, or a change in market conditions, or there's incompleteness in plans, which is endemic.
Hmm.
Uh, and and how can what I want to know is, how can the influential project manager foster cross silo collaboration at the same time deal internally with his or her own organization's multiple departments, because you got the silo too.
Yep.
So I've thrown the puzzle pieces on the table. How do you
Yeah.
arrange them to make them work together?
The first word that comes to mind would be leadership. Um,
Hmm.
is a somebody, probably from each one of those silos, is going to have to probably understand and take a moment to step back and look at the bigger picture
Yeah.
of this, because you painted the picture perfectly. You set the context perfectly. There's dozens and dozens of silos and all these hundreds of people that have never worked together.
Hmm.
For every project, they come together and essentially build a prototype,
Yes.
something that's never been built
I remember.
before, in a very unique location, one of a kind location, one of a kind building, one of a kind existing conditions every single time.
Yeah.
And they're doing this at scale, multiple going on at a time.
Yeah.
And like you said, they all have their own production system. So somebody has got to merge all these production systems and create one
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
And it's leadership. It's, I think, coming together and setting an intention, at the kickoff or the beginning of a project, and say, okay, listen, here are the goals of the project. Here's the strategic mission. This is the why behind the project.
Hmm.
Um, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is the value that we're trying to get. Um, and then talk about everyone's role in that,
Hmm.
and come together and start understanding each other and understanding each other's priorities. So a lot of communication is going to happen. So that's communication and kind of breaking down these silos, these barriers that are kind of between us. Um, yeah, that's what I think. Someone's going to have to lead
Yeah.
that effort from each side. I mean, the best way I've seen this happen is from when the owner leads it,
Yep.
or the owner, delegates a third party, or
Yeah.
some sort of um, coach or oversight
Yeah.
committee um, to do that. And so, all right, guys, let's break down the barriers. Let's truly collaborate. Let's get to know each other on a personal and professional level here, because we're going to be working together,
Yeah.
and we need to understand each other. We need to have trust in the system. I need to be able to rely on you. You need to be able to rely on me. Um, got to know what's priority for me. I need to know what's priority for you.
Yeah.
These things like that. That's the effort I think that needs to be made. Would you add anything to that?
I would simplify that.
Okay. Love it.
All right.
Love it.
And I mean, I gotta make life simple. Otherwise, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Um, which one can stumble through most of one's life not understanding. About 25 years ago, I met a guy named Tom Brasher, Tom and Marcia Brasher, and Tom was in the state of Washington. He was the number two leader of the Public Works Administration. They built public buildings and rehabbed and all that for years. And Tom was a combination of artist and engineer. He was trained in engineering, but his heart was an artist. So he used both sides of his brain. And he was in as number two in the Public Works Agency in a state that's pretty active. Uh, he was in a lot of meetings where there was conflict or there were decision-making issues. And he started, after a meeting, he would diagram what had happened. And he had these big artist sheets because he was an artist. And he would diagram the dynamics of the people involved. And over a 15-year period preceding my meeting him, he came up, he boiled it down to a couple of principles. The principle, the simplest of these is what he called the three levels of thinking on a project. And this one really opened my brain. There are three levels of thinking on a project. The first level is individual, me, 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 me. And we all live there. We're human beings. If we don't take care of us, ain't nobody going to take care of us minute by minute. I mean, people help, but and everyone lives at that level. Every one of the people you mentioned lives at that level. And psychologists,
that's the default mode.
It's
The default
it
mode.
is. It's where we retreat to.
Yep.
And psychologists tell us we think about ourselves. We go there about every 25 seconds. So it's not like, we just give up ourselves and be a project manager or a foreman or whatever. It's that we always bounce in and out of that. And it's, is my chair comfortable? Am I being attacked? Or how, where am I safe? Is something going to fall on my head? And what am I having for lunch?
Yeah.
And that area, that level of thinking has to be protected, has to feel protected. That's why we wear safety gear and train people in safety so they're physically protected. But what we've learned in the last few years is they need to have a psychologically safe environment. They need to feel like they're not going to be under attack if they tell you something. The bearer of bad news, don't kill the messenger. Or if you ask them a question and they tell you the actual answer as far as they know it, they don't want to get yelled at. Nobody does. And if they do, they have some sort of reactive, fight or flight thing, some response, and it tends to break down communication. So people have got to be safe at that level. But we don't make any money at that level. We have to move to the second level, and that's organization. So we organize into companies or organizations of various structures. And a company hires you to do certain things, and they want you to adopt our values, work toward our goals, exhibit these behaviors and don't exhibit those. And if you do all those things and are loyal to the company, we'll write you a paycheck. And so then you can go back to your first level and live your life. And the problem is that each one of those individual at that level, each those silos have all these different things we're talking about, different ideas and different approaches and different goals. All these people that come onto a project want slightly different things. If you actually assess and draw what direction they want to go, they're not all pointed in one direction. They're not.
Yep.
So that's where contracts get written. That's where projects get built. But that's where disputes and issues occur, and communication breaks down, and blah blah blah. You know that. So there's a third level of thinking on a project. Brasher taught us, and that is project first thinking. If everybody can get to project first thinking, that very peak of the level, then the the group will work together. They will do all the things you said they need to do. They will understand the same goals. They will unite behind the leadership. They will work together collaboratively because we keep them safe at the organizational level. Nobody's getting burned, and we keep them safe at the individual level. Nobody's getting insulted or damaged or punched. And so the funny thing about this, Brasher taught me, and I've learned myself, is that you can't get to the top level by working your way up. You can't go from individual to organizational to project first. You can't get there because you get stuck at the second level. You get stuck in the job you're hired to do. So what has to happen is we get together and we just commit to project first thinking. And you're working at that level if when a problem comes up, the first question the team asks is, what's best for the project? Not what's best for my company or what's best for me. I'm not selling you a solution. What's best for the project? And then let's all rally around that and do that.
That is brilliant, Dan. The three levels of thinking. So to recap, as I understand it, we're down default mode is me level thinking what's me, and that's fine. That's natural. That's human. The key there is we need to feel safe there, right?
Right.
We can't be judged for it. We can't be judged of who we are, what we're doing, what we're saying, what we're thinking, what we're questioning, right? Safety.
Yeah.
Then there's another level which we often find ourselves in because our companies organize us into that's organizational level. That's thinking of my company. It's just a little bit more advanced level of me thinking, right? It's still
Group thinking. Yeah.
Group thinking. Okay. And what we're saying here is you can't go from there. Don't go from there. Bypass that and go to project first thinking. And that's where we truly find the right collaboration needed for the project to
But
get
it's
those
a commitment, and you got to keep the organization safe. You won't get project first thinking if the painter's getting dinged, or or the framer is losing money because we're doing what's best for the project, and you're gonna end up paying for it. You can't do that. And you can't do it by insulting people. Yes, but you got to commit to that top level of thinking. Project first, yay.
Yes. That is awesome. That's an amazing framework there. That could be the title of this show.
There you go.
Tell me about your team alignment partnering and those principles.
Okay, so based on those principles and Brasher's analysis of all how the meetings go and the dynamics involved, what we have distilled, and I was introduced to it at the same time with my then business partner, attorney Dick Beyer, who's now in Canada, turning things right in Canada. We help him sometimes. And what we learned is there's a sequence that people have to follow. You pull a group together, a group of leaders together, and you have done a pre-session survey, and maybe it's sent out to everybody on the project or everybody down to foreman level or whatever, however the leadership wants that survey. But it's anonymous, it's independent, it's not hugely long, but it asks the right kind of questions. And two of the questions it asks, first question's out of the box. What's working on this project? Just the list. What's working? In your opinion, what's working? And what's not working on this project? And so when you pull the team together this first time, you kick off this team alignment partnering. And by the way, this is not your mother's partnering. If you've ever done partnering, this is not that. There's a whole cottage industry out there that does partnering, and they do trust falls and they talk about touchy feely stuff. Contractors aren't really crazy about that, and designers are only moderately tolerant, and owners think you're wasting their money. So we don't. It's not that, but we use the word partner because it's in so many specs. So it's a way in the door with this really bright idea, and it starts out with that reviewing the pre-session survey. It involves professional facilitation because you don't just automatically know how to do this. Once you do learn how to do it, you can do it yourself. And we start in silos and we review what the survey said is working and not working. And we break the groups into their silos and we say, from your perspective, agree on what the top three of each are. What are the top three things that are working for owners, designers, builders? What are the top trades? What are the top three things that are not working for those groups? And they talk amongst themselves and they develop and they put it on flip charts or whatever. And we pull back together and we report out. Now, with that information, armed with that information, understanding of the high level issues, we divide the teams into horizontal silos, horizontal teams of executives, PMs or managers, and field or office. The work, the people actually do the work.
Yeah.
Right? The people actually get this thing built or designed. And those three levels actually understand each other. Executives know how to talk to each other in a shorthand because they have the same issues, same problems. They operate at the same level. Project managers, I'm guessing an influential project manager loves talking to another influential project manager because you have the same problems, you have the same challenges, you can swap stories. 55% of our learning is peer to peer. We learn from each other at that. And the folks in the field, same kind of thing. They really understand what it's like to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And in those horizontal teams, they do certain things. First is they develop a communication protocol. How do we want to communicate? What's the best way to communicate? And in the field, it's talk to you. Let's face to face, or at least the phone, or maybe a text. For managers, because you're probably in different places, it's probably email because you need documentation and you pick up the phone when you bounces 3 times. For executives, let's get together for breakfast. Probably at Denny's because nobody knows who's going to pick up the check and they don't want to be too crazy. And and so they develop that communication protocol, and then we ask them develop an issue resolution ladder. If you're going to resolve an issue and not let it become a dispute, how are you going to do that? And so it ends up being, in most cases, people say, let's solve issues at the lowest possible level. So the field gets the first shot at it. They're the ones who see it. They get the first shot. But we don't want to give them forever. So maybe we put a time limit. 7 days is common, but it can be more or less. Before you bucket to the PMs, and they have the opportunity to resolve this. They can figure something out. And if they can't resolve it, you give them, again, a time limit, 7 to 14 days. It goes to the execs. And trust me, they will solve the issue. They'll just make a decision.
Yep.
So they develop these kinds of protocols that work for this project. It may not work on another project. This is this project.
Specific. Yep.
Specifically. And while they're still in those horizontal teams, we say, here's your last question to answer to each other. Go around the circle and say, what do I need from others to do my job well? What do I need from you to do my job well? And now we're touching both the organizational and the individual needs levels by asking that question. And we're also teaching people to kind of relate to each other. Not everybody does that. I mean, how often does someone come up to you on your project and say, what do you need from me to do your job better, Kyle?
Yeah. Very rare.
Very rare.
If never.
Really. And then they come together and they share this information. And this launches the project first thinking.
Yeah.
And it develops the ability to elevate folks into the right level just because they're doing it. They learn to do by doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't imagine anything more powerful than something like this at the beginning of a project. I haven't done that before, like formally with everyone, all major stakeholders, but I've done it on like a project level with my own team. We've taken because there's even silos within your own team. And one thing that I found really helpful as a strategy is getting everyone to retake or take for the first time their disc profile,
Mhm.
and we read their assessment.
Love that.
We share their assessments, strengths, weaknesses, what stresses you out, what pumps you up, what's your default,
Yep.
uh, major personality profile.
Yeah.
And the same kind of things happen. We really get to know each other. We really start to understand each other better, and we can communicate better. Because yeah, this all gets back to the major problem, which is what we face is the siloing and the major problem with communication on projects. Because if we're not communicating well,
Yeah.
then projects slow down and budgets start to get out of control.
Yeah.
So, and I actually just read this on Construction Dive just sent out a report, and it was very timely yesterday. Top obstacles employees face with internal and external collaboration. When asked to name the top three challenges their companies or employees face when collaborating, all more than one third of the respondents identified information silos.
Hmm.
Data isn't shared across departments or teams, which causes delays, misalignment, confusion, poor decision making. Number two, large and distributed workforces. Today, construction companies need to coordinate across sites, states, and time zones, and connecting the field and the office. So
Yeah.
the silo, the breakdown there.
That's the giant silo. The two big silos are field and office.
Yeah, so we have them everywhere. Um, so yeah, it just highlights just the importance of this, and um, something that, if you're a project manager out there, or um, whatever, superintendent,
Yeah.
executive, anywhere, you got to be aware
Yeah.
and this, and probably incorporate something like this, these principles, these practices into your kickoff meeting.
Yeah.
Uh, have sessions like this.
Yeah.
Bring in food and
Yes.
and take time to get to project first level thinking.
High
That's the
protein
goal.
food, not fatty food. That'll
Yeah,
slow you down and make you not think. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And communication is a word that's used all the time. What's our problem? Our problem is communication. What the heck does that mean? And
yeah,
how do we overcome it? And so that's why this process that I was describing, this team alignment partnering thing, you learn to communicate by communicating, but you're given little chunks of information or challenges. What's the issue resolution ladder, or
yeah,
what are the top three, and what are we going to do? You develop the communication skills by actually doing them, and
right.
and if you got a facilitator who knows how to make sure everybody talks, everybody gets a turn, and says, Kyle, that's enough. You've explained that three times. Let me summarize, and then let's go over to Sally. Sally, what do you think? So you've got to have someone kind of leading and directing, facilitating
Yeah,
the conversation. But people learn to communicate by doing it, by doing it and doing it properly, and
yeah.
by listening more than they talk. Way.
Absolutely. I like what you just said. Like, we got to be best communicator. We got to be good
Yeah.
communicators. Well, what is that? Like what you
Yeah.
said, you gave the best example. The question, what do you need from me to do your job better?
Yeah.
Say, when you ask what's communication, that is communication right there.
Yeah.
You're asking a question, you're listening, you're trying to um, align what's in your brain, and I'm trying to align it with what's in your brain so we can have a mirror image there.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do there.
Yeah.
That's communication. Well, did you ask them what they need? Did you ask them how you could help them? You know. So
In
I love that. I
in
love
one
that.
of these sessions, and it was involving Caltrans, California Department of Transportation. They build things, and repair things. And California's a big state, so they do a lot of projects. They got like 12 divisions around the state. One of the guys who was heading up a division back when he was the PM of a big project, I think it was on the I-5, a big highway that runs all the way across the western U.S. from the Mexican border and beyond, all the way into Canada. It's a very long, very famous road. They were working on a section of it, and every morning when he drove to site, and the site was like 12 miles long, he would call up his counterpart and say, "What is your priority for me today?"
Mm.
And it's his counterpart in this case would reply, "What I most need from you is," and then R alpha answered RFI 1215, or maybe it's I want to make sure that the CHP, the Highway Patrol, has got traffic under control so our people are safe, whatever it happened to be. And then he would return the question, "What do you need from me today? I really need you to," and every morning, and it took them like 5 minutes on the phone. They didn't have to
Yeah.
be face to face. They were in their cars because it was 12 miles long, and
Yeah.
or they were coming from 30 miles away. And that kind of personal caring is communication. That is the right and open questions like,
Yes.
"Do you want this?" No, it's, "What do you need from?"
Yeah. Trying to understand
Yeah,
somebody else,
yeah.
what they need,
Yeah.
what's good for the project. I love it. Okay, so I can imagine, but what are the outcomes from these types of team alignment meetings? Like what are you seeing after these happen?
We have facilitated hundreds, maybe even thousands of these sessions because we've done hundreds of projects, and they're typically not only a kickoff, but every quarter you get together and you talk about this, you do a survey and all that stuff because things break, people break, um, and and over that, the big thing I see is an understanding of individuals among each other. They actually get to understand each other, and they get understood. And that disc profile you're describing, which is brilliant, really good idea to kick off that discussion and to understand. It teaches you a little bit about yourself while you're
Yeah.
at it. You
Yeah, it
know,
does.
your strengths and your weakness. Every one of us was 5 years old at one point,
Yep.
and something happened right about that age that really hurt. And that is a button that if somebody pushes and says, say that word or make you feel that way, you're no longer in the conversation.
Hmm.
Everybody's got a button.
Yep.
Sometimes half a dozen if they're more problematic. But and for me, it's trust. And I didn't know that until I was sitting across from a guy that I respected, and I was working with the owner, and he was working with the contractor. And he said, "I don't trust you," and that cut me to the quick. I didn't know what to respond to because I don't deceive people. That was my button. Um, but and then so seeing each other as human beings and respecting them. Respect is the thing that first comes out of it. And by the way, that's right at the heart of the tenets of lean.
Yes.
The tenets of lean is respect
Yeah.
for people.
Can't be lean if there's no respect.
There's no respect. And then the other thing that comes out of these sessions is action items to solve immediate and midterm problems. And lean has
Mm.
some elegant principles and tools, the A3, the PDCA, plan, do, check, adjust, all these things that engineer Ito at Toyota and Juran and others, Deming, have developed. But there's a really simple. We've simplified that too. Got to be three, right?
Hmm.
So a really simple problem solving way to get to action items is you get the group that's considering this together, and a leader, a facilitator, stands up there, it can be internal, and they say, "What are the facts? Just tell me the facts of this problem. I don't want opinions. I don't want your riffing about this and that and I hurt my feelings. Just give me a fact." And we write down all the facts. And then we say, "Okay, put that aside." On another flip chart, what is the ideal future state? What do we want to end up doing? How should this really run? And we put and it's a shorter list typically, of the things that we really need to work. And then the question is simple. How do we get from those facts to this ideal state? What are the action items? Well,
Mm.
this, and who's responsible for that? And when do we want it done? So action item, responsibility, and due date. And that way you end up agreeing on how to solve a problem, because you've analyzed it, you've dug down, you've asked why 5 times for a bunch of things based on the facts. And that gets us to project first.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love finding asymmetric investments of time and
Yeah.
high leverage things.
Yeah.
And that's part of, what I look for in the ethos of the influential project managers is
Yes.
doing and finding and executing on the highest leverage behaviors, the highest leverage systems. And I can't think of one. This has got to be a top one. I don't. This has got to be one of the most highest leverage meetings that you could have at the beginning of a project to get the most juice
Yeah.
out of the system, out of the
Yeah.
people.
It's accelerated team development. It's just like a jet sled. It's a fast track to team development,
Yeah,
and it all happens inside them.
yeah,
This isn't forced on them. This isn't taught with PowerPoint. This is not a lecture. This is group dynamics. It's people evolving together themselves to a slightly higher state of consciousness.
yeah. Getting everyone in the right mindset, the
Yeah.
right framework.
Yep.
The answers are all within us.
Yeah.
It's just about kind of putting the puzzle together
Yeah.
and getting it in the right spot.
Yeah. And one of the things I really enjoy about your work, first of all, is you have so damn many ideas and they're so pure and good. I
Hmm.
can't disagree with any of them yet, and I've read almost all of them.
Thank you.
So there's something magical about your brain's ability to synthesize the state clearly. But one of the things what struck me was that you say I'm never too busy. I make sure I'm not rushing through things and harried and I
Yeah.
was working on a project in Oakland for Kaiser and McCarthy one time, the $1 billion Oakland Medical Center, the flagship there. And
Nice.
one of the project managers, there were a couple, one of the project managers was bragging that he is triple booked in meetings all day long, every day,
Yeah.
triple booked. Are you kidding me? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And how are you not completely inefficient
Hmm.
if you're triple booked in meetings every day? He wore it as a badge of honor. I am so important that I am
Yeah.
triple. It was not. It was a badge of shame.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
There's a lot of, unfortunately, quite a few project managers that fall into that camp, right? We want to be busy, feel busy,
yeah,
wear it like a badge of honor, but it's it's works against you. It
yeah,
doesn't give you the capacity to think and support your team.
yeah.
So yeah, we don't want to be those kind of project managers, right? We want
Right.
to
Yeah,
we want to own our time. We want to work on the most important things. We want to um, have time to think, make
yes.
good decisions.
Yeah.
We want to be out in the field where the work is, right? We don't
You
want to be
gotta
in
go to the
back-to-back
Gemba, as
meetings.
they say. You gotta go where the work is being done. You gotta see it. You gotta feel it. We do something called waste walks, and
Yes,
the opposite of value is what? Waste.
waste.
And you only want to put in value. You don't want to put in waste. The owner doesn't want to pay for waste.
Yeah.
But 57% of labor is waste, according to Construction Industry Institute. So go figure that one out.
Yeah.
Um, but a waste walk is you're looking for, there are 8 types of waste. We won't go into them. You're looking for examples of waste that you're seeing in the field. And you do it in the office too. You walk around the office. You do it in your own office. You look at your workstation, your desk, or whatever it is, your cubicle, and you figure out where there's waste.
Yep.
Uh, and a great way to there's a guy who wrote a book called 2 Second Lean. 2 Second Lean. Think about that. He said, every day I challenge each of my employees to fix something that bugs you.
Mm.
Whatever bugs you today or yesterday, fix it. Just fix it. And it's magical how much continuous improvement you get, how much happier your life is if you actually put the printer closer to your desk where you use it.
Oh,
instead of walking across, 40 feet to where a centralized printer is, and
yeah.
printers are cheap. I mean, whatever it happens to be, for a crew in the field, turn the chop saw around to where you're using it instead of having to walk around it every time. Put the materials, stage them next to where you're using them. There was Greg Howell told a story about he was one of his things was to film crews and then show them the film and say, where's the waste? And there was a plumbing journeyman and a foreman working together installing pipe and ground. And the pipe was 100 feet over there and the trench was over here. And the video showed that the journeyman would stand in the trench waiting for the apprentice to go get a piece of pipe and bring it back so they could install it. And back and forth all day long. They did this back and forth. How much waste was that? And at both levels of salaries and time. So, I mean, there are simple things that you can find something that bugs you and fix it.
Yeah. With that mindset, I mean, you don't know what you can find every day.
Oh man.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we got to eliminate waste. We got a lot of it.
Yeah. Sadly.
What other
Yeah.
topics we want to explore here, Dan?
Well, let's talk about waste for a minute, just for fun.
Yes.
One of the reasons some companies, and I could name categories of companies, uh, don't adopt the kinds of things you and I talk about, the influential or lean principles and behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons is they make money on waste. There's a lot of money in waste, dude.
Yeah.
You know, if an owner hires a construction management firm to help it manage a project, what do they want it to do? They want it to police the project and
Yeah.
report to it what's going wrong and
Yeah.
how they're going to fix it. And so that industry, I have lots of friends who are CMs, and there's some really great ones, and that don't do it this way. But that industry, as an industry, actually benefits from waste because the more waste there is on a project, the more people they need to go around documenting the waste. And their contract says you'll pay for all my people plus a little bit on top.
Yep.
And so, you end up with teams of people just watching the waste and
I
writing
know.
it down. And that doesn't solve problems. And there are companies, there's an entire industry that it was born in design bid build, which is the most expensive. If you're looking for the lowest bidder, you're going to get the highest price, because there's a little thing called change order.
Yeah.
I work with a company that was called the king of change orders. He would low bid everything, get the job, and then he had 100 RFIs day one.
Day
All
one.
the mistakes
Oh,
were made by the designer. But anyway, the waste involved for this particular, if your thing is design bid build, that's the game. The little dinghy is called my yacht, and the big yacht is called change order.
yeah.
The classic cartoon.
Yeah.
So there's money in waste. The problem is, who wants to pay for it?
Yeah.
And who wants to do that? I mean, keep me out. Yeah, give me a break. So
I know some of the systemic issues that we have in the industry, it's kind of like, the lawyers too, the same thing, disputes. There's a whole army of lawyers out there making money off disputes that can be avoided,
I'm
should be avoided.
I'm
So,
not I'm not proud to say it, but I was a claims consultant for a couple of years professionally, more than a couple.
okay.
That was pretty good. Um, but so I would help compile claims. I would go through the documentation. One of the things I found as a claims consultant was that a problem that became a dispute, that became a lawsuit, a problem was noticed somewhere in the daily reports of one of the people, typically the superintendent, but sometimes one of the trade daily report. The problem was surfaced and it was described, and no one acted on it.
Hmm.
And it went on and on and on. Sometimes it's buried in meeting minutes. If your meeting minutes are really transcripts, like court transcripts. You update them every week or month or whatever.
Yeah.
It's buried. The problem is buried. But that's where disputes start out as a single stupid thing that could be fixed right then
Yeah.
and isn't. It's ignored because we're not used to looking for waste.
Yeah. Small things become big things. I think that's the message there. And that's an interesting anecdote to hear that these things are, almost always identified, known. It's just somebody's not communicating or somebody is not, you know, taking ownership.
Yeah.
So,
And by the way, I got out of that business and went
mhm.
into partnering.
Hey, I think
The
you,
team alignment partnering. I got tired of living in the dark side. You
yeah,
know,
you said I'm gonna fix the problem.
I, I want to go to the light
I
side.
don't want to
I
clean up
want
the
to.
mess.
I know how to prevent these now. I've
Yeah,
seen the evidence. Let's figure out a way to do it. That's when I met Brasher.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and you've done a great job, impacted a lot out there. So,
I hope so.
thank you, Dan.
This has been fun, Kyle.
Yeah,
It was
this
fun for
was a
me.
blast.
I don't know about the listeners. Probably going, "Oh my God, it was a soul."
No, I think that the big takeaways here, the three levels of thinking,
Yeah.
that is a beautiful framework.
Yeah.
So I will want to definitely expand on that. I'll do a little write up um,
We've got
for
a,
that.
on our website, we got a, unfortunately, our website is very complex because we're trying to simplify it because there's so much stuff in there. But we've simplified the team alignment partnering page. And the simplest way to get to that, and it has the three levels of thinking, and it has more detail you can download. It's an easy, simple page to scan to look at that. Is the I gave it a certain URL, transcend silos, and transcend is TRANSCEND. That's the only word people don't know necessarily how to spell. Transcendsilos.com, and at that on that page you'll find a kind of a capsule of what I was describing, and if you want more information, it'll pop up a the background, the history, and not so much the history, but the philosophy and the principles behind that,
Beautiful.
and even how to lay out the room. You know,
Oh,
room. You don't want to meet around a big table because tables are barriers.
okay.
They create their own problems. It's a circle of chairs with nothing in between but space and you, baby.
Good.
Little things like that, you find on that.
Yeah, that's important. So I'll link to that if you don't mind. I'll
No,
get that
please.
linked up.
Be honored.
Um, and yeah, for the listeners out there, this falls under, my framework of the influential project manager, the seven archetypes.
Yeah,
This would fall under the communicator,
yeah, yeah,
under that as a high leverage system,
yeah.
uh, to unlock streams and streams of good communication on your project. So very important, very timely. Found that interesting that I got that report from the construction dives talking
Yeah,
about the
that
same problems.
same problems. It's been like this for like 120 years. Before that, it was the master builder concept. And yeah, one guy was
One
brilliant,
guy did it all.
you know, Leonardo da Vinci or
Yeah.
and but but about the turn of this 20th century, we started specializing. And
Yes.
first it was designers and builders, and then it was designers that do this and this, and by the 80s, it was everybody's all chopped up into cubicles and
Then
doing
it
a piece of the design.
became a mess.
And
Yeah.
it's a mess.
So it's actually almost like, and we've had the same problems forever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, we almost need to make this a requirement. Like it should be a requirement
Yeah. Well,
out there.
some people will resist it even if it is.
I know. But good. This is fun. This is fun.
I enjoyed
Any
talking.
any closing remarks?
No, just thank you for your continuing font of ideas and simplifications of ideas, and I am again astonished at how much your vision aligns with mine and your methodology aligns with mine.
Mm.
I think we must have learned, I mean, there are ideas out there that in the universe that can be tapped that are universal ideas. And I think we're a couple of guys that have a sense of what those might be.
I couldn't agree. We're all on a mission to accelerate construction. It's in your name.
Yep. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, this is good, Dan. We'll wrap up now and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. And you.